We've all heard the phrase, good fences make good neighbors. But what if I told you healthy boundaries make for even better relationships with both ourselves and with others? In a world where we're constantly expected to say yes to everything, learning how to say no can be the most powerful thing that we do for our own mental health and for fostering more authentic and honest relationships. Today, I want to explore how we can step away from constantly saying yes and redefining ourselves saying no. By redirecting our feelings and being more intentional with our time, we can create an environment where everybody feels safe to be honest and transparent with one another, simply by setting those healthy boundaries. This is Sam. Sam is a textbook people pleaser. He often finds himself struggling to say no to the requests of others for fear of letting them down. Sam's needs are often compromised because of his commitment to please others. I like to look at Sam and other people pleasers as lighthouse keepers, always shining the light outward onto others, yet they're never always be on. Whether it's because we don't feel like we're deserving enough to be in the light, or simply because we're avoiding problems of our own. If we're constantly saying yes to everything that comes our way in an effort to please those around us, we begin to stop focusing on ourselves and our own needs. What we struggle to realize, however, is that if we do take that time to focus on ourselves and our own needs, we can be of much better service to others, as well as much stronger assets to society. Now, it's a very normal thing to want to be of service to others and to help out where we can. But it gets lonely at the top of the lighthouse because we're not allowing ourselves to be true and authentic. Always saying yes to everything leads us to neglect ourselves. And that self-neglect can turn into resentment towards those asking for our help. That self-neglect and resentment can then turn into mental health issues such as chronic stress, burnout, and depression, all of which could be avoided if we just learn what healthy boundaries look like and how to set them for ourselves. Now, I want to show you all an example of healthy boundary setting. We all know who this is. When it comes to the world of gymnastics, she is the greatest of all time. In 2015, Simone Biles brought home 5 medals from the Rio Olympics. The world is excited to see her compete again at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. However, Simone battled mental health issues following the COVID-19 lockdown, which inevitably led her to withdraw from the Tokyo Olympics. Watching around the world, but we all forget she's not just in gymnastics. She is a person. Simone took time for herself. She had a 2-year break from competing and came back even stronger for the 2024 Paris Olympics, where she brought home 4 medals. Simone learned how to prioritize herself and set boundaries so she could take care of herself first and then perform her job even better. We as a public benefit from her hard work and the boundaries that she sets for herself, not only because we continue to be entertained by her, but also because she teaches us valuable lessons about how personal boundary setting can impact society in a good way. I want to bring back Sam. Sam was overworked. He was going in early, staying late, his mornings were filled with meetings, and his afternoons were haunted by deadlines. When he gets home in the evenings, his spouse is pleading for help with chores around the house, while his kids are begging for his attention, all at the same time his phone is still blowing up with notifications from work. He felt like everybody needed him, but he didn't have enough time in the day. Now, Raise your hand if you know somebody like Sam. Maybe you are Sam. If you didn't raise your hand, which I think most of you did, you are going to have to ask yourself some hard questions. For example, Sam gets home from work one day. It was a long and exhausting day, and he was too exhausted and had no motivation to do anything. His spouse notices this and decides to ask him a hard question. Are you happy with the way that you're living your life? Sam thought about this. He realized no, he wasn't happy. He didn't like how much time he was spending at work and compromising other places in his life. So he decided that he needed to reset his priorities and set boundaries for himself. He wrote out a list of what his current priorities were, and this helped him figure out where in his life he needed those boundaries set. Sam was able to redefine his boundaries and be able to leave his work at work and be present when he gets home. Because of this, he was not only a more present father and husband, but he was also a more efficient and enthusiastic employee because he gave himself time to relax with those boundaries that he set for himself. It's hard to set boundaries for yourself, but I do want to talk about how I got to that point. I'm getting ready to graduate this spring, and I like to think back to when I began my undergraduate studies here 3.5 years ago. I was a chronic people pleaser. I was saying yes to everything that came my way because I was so excited to get involved in this community and be a part of it. Because of this, I became so overly involved so quickly that my grades and my mental health suffered. I was constantly anxious and felt like I didn't have enough time in the day for everything. I was drowning in everything I had to do, although it was all self-inflicted. I got to the point where I was so overly exhausted that I realized I needed to make some changes. I learned to set boundaries for myself. I stepped away from the things that I didn't get much satisfaction out of, and I put my time and energy into the things I was truly passionate about. This helped me take on larger leadership roles where I was able to make an even greater impact in this community because of it. It took me a long time to figure out how to set these boundaries for myself, and some days I'm still working on it. But I want to share with you the steps I took to get there. Step number 1, stop and evaluate. Stop and evaluate yourself and your priorities. Where are you feeling overworked or burned out? For me, I felt burned out from all the things I was saying yes to when I knew I did not have the time to commit to them. This caused me to say yes to too many things, and I was so burnt out that I was only putting half effort into all of it. Step number 2, ask yourself the hard questions. Is this benefiting me? What are my priorities? Am I being the best version of myself that I can be to support the greater good? Asking yourself these questions can help you figure out where in your life that you need to set those boundaries. And the final step, make the changes. Make the changes so that you can improve yourself and be a much stronger and more productive member in your community. It can be difficult learning how to say no and letting people down. But if you are firm in your decision turning down smaller requests, you will have the capacity to take on the larger requests and say yes when they really count. You may struggle to do this at first, but I want you to remember, learning how to say no can be the most powerful thing that you do. Let's bring back Sam. Remember his story. I know he's coming back a lot, but remember his story. He was so overworked and wasn't happy with the way that he was living his life. But he realized he needed to make those changes, and he took the effort to do that. Because of this, he was able to function better both at work and at home. And because of it, he was much happier. So I want to challenge you all to learn to set boundaries for yourself. I want you to stop and evaluate yourself and your priorities. I want you to make the changes so that way you can be a better member for your community. And then also ask yourself the hard questions. Because if you do these things, again, you will improve yourself for you and everybody in your life. I challenge you all to be like Sam. Thank you.